Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Business Live. Coming up tonight, Ghana Revenue Authority turns its customs lab into a production line for hand sanitizers. There's a move to get staff protected as it grapples with potential loss of revenue as a result of the coronavirus pandemic. Meanwhile, Ghana Exim Bank announces support for clothing manufacturing firms to produce PPEs under the emergency COVID-19 funding scheme. Also tonight, remittance flows around the world set to plummet more than $100 billion this year, depleting a vital source of financing for developing countries as they struggle with the economic chaos triggered by the coronavirus pandemic. We'll take a look at the situation here in Ghana. Thanks for being with us. More coming up in this half hour of Business News. Do stay tuned. Government has set a revenue target of 55 billion cedis for 2020, but that may not be attained because of the coronavirus pandemic. Meanwhile, to help protect staff, the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority has begun production of some 10,000 litres of alcohol-based hand sanitizer. Commissioner General of the GRA, Aboagye-Wiafe, says there are plans to produce more for other state institutions. Here's more in this report.
The decision by the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority (GRA) to produce alcohol-based hand sanitizers was due to the reduced activity at its lab at the Kotoka International Airport. Since the outbreak of COVID-19 earlier this year, management has put in place measures to minimize the impact of revenue. Though the production is done in small quantity, the Commissioner General of the GRA, Aboagye-Wiafe, disclosed that they are being able to make some savings on the expenditure.
Has saved us more than 164,000 Ghana cedis per month from what we started buying. And with this initiative, we are sure that if we're looking at even for 6 months, it will be more than 1 million cedis that we'll have to spend. And therefore, this is a substantial savings for us. The production of this sanitizer form part of our measures we have put in place to support our staff as they work at the various frontiers to bring in the much needed revenue. We have also secured other personal protective equipment such as face masks, hand gloves, among others, to ensure that we protect our staff and protect our customers or the taxpayers.
According to Mr. Aboagye-Wiafe, the GRA has begun some cost-cutting measures to also ensure that the losses from the impacts of COVID-19 are covered halfway.
But as you know, some of the costs are fixed costs, and as the government has said, we cannot say that we will not pay salaries of the government. Since the government have not said anything at this moment, we expect that we have to continue paying salaries of personnel. But we continue to look at various initiatives that will help us to reduce our cost and then ensure that we have more effective ways of collecting the revenue. It will take me to the second question that was asked about the smart avenues. Currently, we have allowed taxpayers previously to, instead of bringing their filing physically, we've now given them email address and they can file. Secondly, we've also now given them access to banks where they can also pay directly to their banks.
The hand sanitizers have been certified by the Food and Drugs Authority in Ghana.
And as the demand for personal protective equipment increases amid the spread of coronavirus in Ghana, the Ghana Export-Import Bank, Exim Bank, has provided funding to manufacturing firms to produce more. This is under the Exim Bank's COVID-19 funding project. Chief Executive Lawrence Agyensam says the bank is committed to opening credit lines to support the fight against the virus. He spoke to Joy Business when he visited one such company, Canlin Fashion, at North Kanish Industrial Area, which produces 30,000 PPEs a day.
Local government manufacturing companies are racing to meet demand for personal protective gears. Here, at the production line of Canlin Fashion, these workers, numbering 300, are on a morning and night shift system, turning tons of plain material to nose masks, protective gowns and hand gloves. Linda Ampa is the chief executive of the company.
We were about 145, 150 thereabouts. So we had to increase our capacity to be able to meet the demand so that the President can meet the targets set for the nation.
Having benefited from a funding program under the Exim Bank, this garment factory is part of 7 other companies innovating with a thread and needle to keep Ghana's general public, including frontline health workers, against the novel coronavirus. Paying a factory visit to the production line, Chief Executive of Ghana Exim Bank, Lawrence Ajinsam, encouraged other government firms to apply for financial assistance.
Go beyond the aid. Today we have a local industry that is producing to be able to support us. That is meeting both the FDA standard and WTO standard. We are proud to associate ourselves with Kathleen, that she is doing this yeoman's job. On behalf of the board and management, we will continue to support. But this is a demonstration of what Ghanaians' ability and capability can do. Time has come for us to look local and not international. We therefore plead that the garment industry, as you saw, has a lot of people that they can employ. So for those who are already in the industry, we want to assure them that they should make investments, and Exim Bank would help them for Ghana to become self-sufficient.
With 30,000 pieces of PPEs produced daily, Catlin is part of several clothing manufacturing firms that are hoping to catch on with the demand that has come as a result of COVID-19. This is part of the various initiatives that government has implemented under the Exim COVID-19 initiative to boost local production amidst these uncertain times. I'm Charles Aite for Joy Business.
And you're watching Business Live. We have to put on our protective equipment to fight the spread against the spread of COVID-19. We are going to have a studio discussion about remittance flows. Now, around the world, they are set to plummet more than $100 billion this year, depleting a vital source of funding for developing countries as they struggle with economic chaos triggered by the pandemic, according to the World Bank. Now, last year, remittances overtook foreign direct investment to become the biggest source of capital inflows to low and middle income countries for the first time. They accounted for about 8.9% of GDP in poor countries in 2019. However, with lockdowns in various countries across the world, it has become harder for migrants to send money back to their families. Here to discuss how this development is impacting developing countries like Ghana is the project assistant for migration and development at the International Organization for Migration, Eric Kwame Akomeni. And it's great to have you in studio. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're keeping safe.
I'm keeping safe. Thank you very much,
All right, so that's quite an unencouraging report, I should say, from the World Bank. So let's begin, first of all, by telling us the size of the remittance flows to Ghana in this context.
Okay, so thank you very much, and once again, good evening to our viewers. I would probably want to start off by helping us have an understanding of what remittance means when we talk about remittances, because for IOM, which is the UN-related agency responsible for migration, when we talk about remittances, we're looking at personal transfers that migrants make to families left behind at home. So this is the context within which we are having the discussion about remittances to Ghana. And this is a major source of funding in terms of lifting people out of poverty.
Right.
When we look at the size of remittance flows to Ghana, it's been increasing steadily. To be frank, we had started around $117 million in 2007, and this had increased until it reached its peak around $5 billion, just under $5 billion in 2015. Following 2015, there was marginal decrease, but this had picked up again. So we're seeing consistent increase in flows, hitting about $3.8 billion in 2019.
Right.
So this is the size of money that we actually...
So we are told that all over the world you're going to lose around $100 billion. Can you maybe estimate how much we're going to lose here in Ghana, do you think?
Yeah. So I think the 100 billion and over that was projected by the World Bank was for Sub-Saharan Africa.
Right.
Because then there's a much bigger figure looking at the global remittance market. So for Ghana, where we are receiving about 3.8 billion, we are looking at close to 23% shortfall in that volume that we receive. So if you convert, because the World Bank projected that for Sub-Saharan Africa, we're probably going to see around 23% decrease, between 20 to 23% decrease in flows. So 20 to 23% less 3.8, if we are to maintain the inflows at 3.8, then that is a huge sum of money. And what does that mean? Because this also means a lot for the migrant sending household, because it means about 23% loss in funding for education. We're looking at nutrition outcomes for children, which are financed by these remittances. We're also looking at impact on possible savings for the households, because study that IOM had done in 2016 actually saw that remittance contributed to increasing household income, nearly increasing household income. So if you're looking at this shortfall, then there is a huge impact on migrants sending household, and this is what it means for Ghana.
Is there any recovery in sight? I mean, this maybe largely depends on how long we go with this coronavirus pandemic, right?
Yes. To be frank, we are all not very sure where we are going with regards to coronavirus, but then the World Bank from this study projects that we're likely to rebound in 2021, but then that will be very slow. We're looking at around 5.1% increase from 2021, but there should be a lot of efforts on our part as a country to make sure we leverage and accelerate the process towards this. To be frank, Ghana was lucky to have benefited from a EU support under some of the projects that we do, where we had done a review of the remittance market in Ghana and put forward some set of recommendations on how Ghana could leverage remittances for development. Because what we had seen in Ghana is that mainly remittances are used for consumption. So monies are coming in, but families are using it for consumption. Ghana Statistical Survey, with support from IOM, had done a study, a pilot study, and had realized that less than 1% of the remittance inflows are used for savings. So with support from the EU, we had done a study and come up with a set of recommendations, which we believe now is the time to move forward towards implementation of those recommendations to help us minimize the impact of this.
Can you tell me a bit more about the recommendations that you have made?
Yes, so for instance, the study that we had done had projected that by 2025, Ghana was going to see a full digitization of the remittance market, because Ghana had been on a certain drive to digitize the remittance space. With as new payment systems law, we had a lot of effort in terms of interoperability, and we're driving towards digitization. So what we see is that with this impact of COVID, we're likely to slow down the process towards digitization of the remittance market. What this then means is that it could possibly lead to an increase in the cost of sending remittances.
Right.
Because already Ghana is doing around 7.8% in terms of sending remittances if you are sending the first $200. And if we are not able to maintain the process of digitization, which provides a much cheaper option to send money, then we are likely to see possible increase in the cost of sending remittance. What does that mean? What this means is that migrants that are sending remittances back home are going to lose a portion of the amount they are sending home. And don't forget, your migrants are not the very rich migrants who are sending a lot of money. They probably may be the very poor ones. They may be those that are working hourly to send $100 back home and what have you. What it also means that if the cost goes up, what we have seen from our study is that the lesser you send, the more you pay in cost of transaction. And then it means the migrants are going to suffer the most. Also, maybe if you can permit me, what we've seen is that Ghanaian migrants spend the first few years of their journey in paying back monies they had used in their travel. So what it means that with a higher cost in transaction, possibly, potentially, they're going to probably spend more to pay recruitment agencies here that facilitate these trips and what have you.
And one last question, what do you think is the key learning for us? And as you have said, a sizable amount of our population depends on these remittances.
Yes. A major learning for Ghana will be that we need to think properly how we engage the diaspora. One approach would be to look at banking the diaspora, which is a major policy issue we have put forward. To look at strategies, a campaign that will look at how the financial institutions here could help bank our diaspora. We had done a very good project last year with a year of return, and there's a lot that we could leverage from. Secondly, we also see that there is a lot of talking that needs to happen around the table with the major stakeholders that work on the remittance space in Ghana. The Bank of Ghana, the Diaspora Affairs Office of the President, the Financial Sector Division of the Ministry of Finance. They need to sit and talk among themselves and look at how we carry forward a set of recommendations that have come out from the various studies that have been done so far.
Thank you very much for your perspective this evening. Great to have you in the studio. And do take care. You are watching
Thank you very much.
Business Live. We are taking a short break. Stay close. Welcome back to our program tonight. Republic Bank has donated 240,000 cedis as part of the bank's contribution to helping fight against COVID-19. This amount, according to the bank, is to be used by hospitals to purchase medical equipment for the treatment of critical COVID-19 cases. There is more in this report.
The donation to the Accra Regional Hospital comes at a time when COVID-19 cases in Ghana has increased to 1,042. MD of the bank, Farid Anta, explained the 240,000 cedi donation should aid the hospital procure the needed equipment to complement treatment against the coronavirus.
This is to play our part in the whole fight against the COVID-19. We see our role as part of the economy, part of the country, and wherever we can, Republic Bank Limited and through our parent company, Republic Financial Holding, we are trying to play as active a role as we can to support the infrastructure that is leading the fight against the COVID virus. But specifically to the Greater Accra Hospital, the Ridge, it's just under 250,000, 240,000 cedis, specifically for the acquisition of 2 ventilators and monitors to assist with the more critical cases.
Receiving the donation, Director of Health Service for the Greater Accra region, Dr. Charity Sapon, re-emphasized the need for Ghanaians to strictly adhere to safety measures.
As we know, the statistics of COVID-19 shows that almost about 80% plus of the people who will be infected may not exhibit any symptoms or may not require critical health care. But then we have a few percentage who may progress beyond even exhibiting symptoms to going to a stage where they are critically ill.
Republic Bank Ghana earlier announced an offer of loan repayment deferment for customers and staff of the bank for a maximum period of 6 months in response to COVID-19.
That's Business Live tonight. Thanks for watching. More news on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. My name is Darryl Powell. We'll be back same time tomorrow.